So I just finished reading Kowloon, generic romance. We got 3, 4, and 5 because that's all the volume I have. This story is just full of mystery. I won't say too much. I'm like kind of taking some guesses and prediction what is going on because there's just a lot of like unanswered about the place Kowloon, the characters. There's just, I'm trying not to say too much. So there are some romance between our two main characters, but right now it's sort of like a mutual, but there are times like they do more than what they shouldn't be doing, if that makes sense. So our main character, Miss Kujirai and Mr. Kudo, they're both co-workers. They work for a realtor who helps, people find apartments around Kowloon. They also mention like their friends here and there. They do like a lot of gathering in somebody's places. And then Mr. Kudo and Miss Kujirai, they always hang out, eat out, and then whenever she needs help, she always asks him. But their relationship is kind of like strange now. And they've actually known each other for a long time, and then something happened in the past. And our main character, she has no memory because something happened. And to avoid spoiler, all I can say is she's not the real Miss Kujirai. Again, there's a lot of mystery about this story, especially the city Kowloon or the place Kowloon, because people are either missing or leaving, or it could be someone else. It's not like their original self, if that makes sense. I really like the story so far. There's just a lot of mystery. I need to know more, especially volume 5, because it left like a big clue about the place Kowloon. All I can say is it might be not the real Kowloon. It could be, I don't know, fake or real. We don't know. All I can say is this story has to do with something fake or versus real, if that makes sense. Oh my god, I really like it. It just said explicit warning. It's not very explicit in my opinion. Not yet, I guess. And one of the main reasons why I really wanted to read this because I really want to see the anime, because the anime is already out. I just hope, well, I'm pretty sure the anime is probably might be further than the manga. That's why I really need to read the rest. So this way, I want to know what happened next before, if I see the anime, if that makes sense. But anyway, I'm just rambling. Really like Kowloon generic romance. I just like it because it's an adult, story. There's a little bit of mystery, and we get to learn about Kowloon. And in general, you get to see like the people's lives here. It's very like busy and crowded, and people are just having fun, go with the flow, and people really enjoy living Kowloon. That's all I can say. But yeah, really good. I can't wait to read more of this manga, and this is by Jun Mayuzuki. I really thought this was the final volume because I saw somewhere that volume 12 was the final volume for My Senpai is Annoying, story and art by Shiromanta. This volume came out back in December. I finally got a chance to read it because I think I just recently got this. I did look. There is another volume. I really thought this was the final volume, and besides, at the end it did say to be continued. However, the story didn't feel like it was finished anyway because our main character Futaba finally confesses her feelings to her coworker Mr. Takeda. They're coworkers and they work together in the same office, and the whole time she was just trying to figure out about herself, her place in the office, and then she realized that she has feelings for him. And then when it comes to him, it's not very clear if he feels the same, but all he did say to her that he really cares for her. And so now Futaba is either like, oh, does he really like me or not? But yeah, after the confession, she got sick and she didn't really went back to the office for a while. And now Mr. Takeda is kind of wondering if she's gonna be okay or if this is his fault. But yeah, really cute office romance. Besides them, there's another 2 co-workers who has a little well, let's just say they start going out as well. And in this story, they're slowly like getting to the next level with their relationship, And then they also talk about their past, what they like about their high school or middle school time. There's also another character about Futaba's best friends, and then Futaba's co-worker's brother. The little brother has a crush on Futaba's best friend, and he's been trying to like give hints to her that he likes her, but I think she knows he's into him, but of course he's still young to even know anything about love. But yeah, really cute story. I really thought this was the last volume because like, oh my god, I can't believe it's gonna end. However, not yet. So volume 13 is coming out this November. I am actually kind of like surprised that this manga is only releasing once a year. And so yeah, it really sucks. Other than that, this manga is actually colored, a really nice illustration. The chapters are pretty short, the story goes pretty quickly. I really like it. I don't mind. The anime is also cute. So I definitely recommend this office romance because it's just so adorable about coworkers, adult life, and you just get to learn each character about theirs, personality and all. Yeah, definitely recommend this manga. It's pretty quick, but the price for this can be hefty. So definitely recommend to see if you can get it on sale or maybe read it at your library. But yeah, really good office romance. I really like it. Alright, I just finished reading this manga series called Perfect World by Ai Aruga. I read 10, 11, 12. This is actually a short series with just 12 volumes. Let's just say I had a very teary moment throughout this 3 volumes because so many things happened in the last volume. Our main character, they were trying to convince her dad, and the dad finally approved their getting married, and they did get married. However, without saying too much or any spoilers, they did overcome a lot of things being a newlywed and especially becoming a parent. I won't say too much about about them having a kid because there was a process at first hand, and then the second time around there was another process, and it was a really challenging moment for them. They overcome so many things, a lot of heartbreak, but however, these two are so determined. They're very strong. All they want is to be, happy and not let those negative come between them. I just really like this story. It's all about just being happy and accepting others, especially who has disability. Now, someone with disability do face a lot of things and backlash and criticized by others, but you know what? At the end of the day, these two really love each other and they were very strong to prove everybody that they can do this because so many people were against their being together, especially I think it was her parents, but at the end they were very acceptful, and the ending was definitely a happy ending. Everything just come together even though they face so much obstacles and challenges once again. I just love the story. I definitely recommend anybody who should be reading this. You learn a lot, especially with someone with disability. We also get to meet other people with disability and their struggle. And everybody in this story, has something to say or you learn from. And they do talk about what happened to their friends or their other friends that they encounter. In the end, overall, it was just so happy ending. I just love it. I cannot believe it's already done. This is a library manga. I knew like I needed to finish this series because I only had 3 volumes, and that is why I decided to read it. And you know what? I'm so glad. I'm actually trying to collect this manga because I don't have a lot of series with disability. I would like to read more and learn from that because I grew up where my dad was also in a wheelchair, so of course I kind of knew what that goes. And yeah, definitely recommend this manga, and it will definitely make you cry because definitely made me cry because there was just so many moments where these two just face so much that of course they had their fights and their moments, but in the end their love for each other was very strong, and they just keep moving forward and find something that will work out in the end, and which they did. So yeah, Perfect World, definitely recommend it. Please read it because it's so underrated. After a long shift, I decided to read a manga today. So this one's called The Guy She Was Interested in Wasn't a Guy at All. This is by Sumeko Arai, Volume 2. I really like this Yuri manga, and it's also Pride Month, guys. So in this volume, Osawa and Koga's friendship is blossoming. They're finally getting closer and more open towards each other. I think that number one thing that they really have in common is listening to music. And then on this volume as well, they have a school field trip. Now, Koga, she's very introverted. She was very nervous about getting in a group, but then Osawa decided to let the teacher know that could be possible, choose our own group. And of course, this made Koga, a big sigh of relief. So she knows that Osawa, of course, wants to have her in the group. And the trip went well. Koga seems kind of open towards her classmate, but sometimes she feels like she's far away. I think it's because she's more like focused on her music. She wants to write song, and aside from like school things, like I think in her mind music is her world. And at the same time, she doesn't do well when it comes to her academics, only certain subject, and so she does struggle with her studies, but with the help of her classmate, she was able to sort of pass, but she had to like did some remake tests, and yeah, that also didn't do well. But it seems like in her mind music's the only thing she can think of, and Osawa feels like things are kind of drifting apart, but not in a bad way. I think Osawa just feels like she doesn't really know too much about Koga besides music, but then Koga finally told her what's been on her mind, and she's been writing songs, and she did share that to Osawa. And at the same time, Koga's uncle's ex-girlfriend came to visit. She's from LA, or she's living in LA, and she was thinking of bringing Koga with her, and so Osawa was kind of worried that Koga might left, but Koga hasn't really made a decision yet, because they're still in high school. I think they're probably in their final year. I'm not quite sure, because in Japan, I guess they always have to like think about what they want to do after high school, and they kind of have to write it down, and this way they can figure out what they want to do, because her uncle saw that paper, and the uncle is also worried about her, because even though he knows that Koga loves music, I think he just want to make sure that she's taking the right path. Other than that, I really like this Yuri manga. It's fun and cute. Osawa, I don't know if you guys remember. So this is Osawa, and this is Koga. So Osawa is so obvious. She has the biggest crush on Koga. She gets so giddy and gaga. I just find it so adorable. And there are times they have like their awkward moments, but in the end, they enjoy listening to music. And what I really like about this Yuri is they mention so many bands that I've heard before or I grew up with, and nowadays you don't really like hear them. But yeah, like for example, Red Hot Chili Peppers. There's also that guy from Nirvana, Kurt Cobain. Was it Kurt Cobain? I could be mistaken. Yeah, there's just a lot of like familiar band that I grew up listening to. But yeah, really like this Yuri. Can't wait for volume 3. We'll see what's gonna happen next, because they are in their final year of high school, and who knows, maybe Osawa might confess to her, maybe because this will like change things up, because who knows, Koga might leave. All right, guys, I just binge read this manga series called Animeta, read 1 to 5, and it is by Focus Yaso Hanamura. Now this manga is not even finished, because the 5th volume is not the final volume, because it just said ended and it's not like the final. So I'm kind of bummed, because I did so much research. I'm not sure if this manga either got canceled or maybe the publisher didn't want to pick up. So yeah, it really sucks, because I do enjoy reading about this manga. It's all about animator, not about manga. It's all about animator, animation. Our main character, okay, Miyoki, she's in her early, I think she's like 19. She wants to become an animator ever since she watched an anime called Panakota. And now she did try on her first try to enter this interview and try to apply this company called N2, I believe. However, she didn't pass the first time around because she's a newbie, she has no experience. So the director said to come back, and she did come back after 6 months, and then she finally got hired. And her first job was basically like, they call it inter between or something like that. There's so many terminology when it comes to being an animator. There's a lot of steps, there's a lot of key words. So basically she had to like retrace certain drawing, and at first it was really difficult for her, but the more practice she had, and then she had like some secret advice probably from the director, because the director sees that she has a lot of potential, because they notice she has this special awareness where she picks up a lot of things that I guess nobody does, even the smallest details. And so she works really hard just to impress her peers, especially the seniors. And she did it. However, in order to become like a key animator, they have to do like a quota per month. She has to make at least 500 cuts or like drawings, something like that. And she did it. And then in order to become a key animator, but first you have to get that 500 cuts, she has to enter a exam. Now the exam was very tough. She had to go against with a lot of talented artists. However, even though she didn't make through, she still didn't give up. She pushed through. And then on top of that, she actually got an offer from a different studio. However, she decided to stick to this studio because it didn't feel like she's cutting through somebody's line. In other words, she didn't want to take shortcuts. She still want to start at the bottom and then make her way up by working in this studio. Now, this company has like different studio because every studio has its own department. And so she started first at studio number 7, and then she actually switched to studio number 2 to focus on being an inter-betweener. That's not the correct word for sure. I'm probably gonna put it on the screen. So basically her job is to like, redo somebody's work and fix something that doesn't look well. So yeah, this story is really good. It's all about working as an animator. There's so many steps, and it's not that easy. It's very cutthroat as well, because people will say whatever they want to say. So it feels like you have to be ready with a lot of criticism and a lot of judgment throughout your peers. And yeah, really like the story. Unfortunately, I can't find any information if this series is canceled because it's not done yet. And I just binged through all this. I really enjoy it. It's so easy to read, and the story is very knowledgeable and very educational about being someone who wants to become a animator. And yeah, I just hope that, I don't know, because volume 5 came out back in 2021 and it's already 2025. So it really sucks that this manga either was canceled or something. I can't find anything online. It really sucks, but you know what? I'm gonna keep this manga. I really like the story. I don't know if someday they'll continue this series. It really sucks. Anyway, Animeta, really good. All about becoming an animator. It's very tough and challenging. Not everybody can make it until the end because it's just very, hard, especially if you have other competitors out there. But other than that, really like the story. If you guys have read this, let me know. Have you guys read about this manga series, which I don't heard anybody talk about? I have this manga for a while now. It was just sitting there. I was like, it's time to read this, and I'm glad I did because I really did enjoy it. I also want to add that this story is very inspiring. This story can be inspired anybody who wants to do something about their life. Like, don't give up easily, and yes, things can get hard, and of course you're gonna face a lot of like competitors and criticism, but in the end, if you have a lot of determination, it's okay to fail as long as you just keep going. And if you have any like compassion and love for the thing that you love, you'll make it through. And that's why I really like the story, because it's just very inspiring. It's just to show that don't ever give up on something that you love, and yeah, just keep going. All right. Sorry if it's dark, but I wish this story had more volumes, because I really enjoyed this series about a young girl who wants to become a knight. Now, the rest of the other knights doesn't know that she's a girl. She's pretending to be a boy. However, only a few knights knows about her true identity, because she actually comes from another kingdom. However, she had to leave that kingdom because it was taken over by another noble family. So basically, our main character, Rosa, who's pretending to be a boy, I believe she's a noble. But anyway, this story just talks about her way up being a knight. So right now, well, in the beginning, she started as a page, and then you become a squire, and then a knight. Basically, as a page, you start from the bottom. You do all sort of like chores. I guess that's just part of the basic. And then as a squire, that's like, you move up and kind of like shadow the knights, and then after that you become a knight. So it's just a lovely slice of life story about her life trying to become a knight. However, at the same time, she also wanted to become a knight because of what happened to her kingdom. Her parents passed away, and she wanted to become strong, and at the same time, protect herself, or anybody who is in danger. Of course, Rosa faces a lot of struggles, but her determination keeps her going. She's very kind and compassionate. She loves to help others. I think it helps her also, get more training, build up more muscle and energy. Everyone in the story, really truly respect her, even though she's very klutzy. But other than that, I really like the story. Again, I wish there were more. And the thing I like about this story, it kind of reminds you how life was so simple back then. No electronics. Everything back then was just super different. And what I like about this is kind of remind you that, sometimes you just want to just take it easy and don't take life for granted, because back in the days there was no electricity, no TV, and it kind of makes me wonder how people back then kept themselves busy, other than like reading, like chores. But yeah, really nice story. I really enjoyed. Again, I wish there were more. So this is a short series. I didn't even tell you guys what's the name of this series title. This one's called The Night's Blooms Behind Castle Walls, and it is by story and art by Masanari Yudoka. It's a very well written story. It also like has some side information about certain things from the story. Yeah, I definitely want to keep this manga for sure. But yeah, really enjoy this manga. I definitely recommend it if you want to learn about knighthoods and anything, how life was back then. There is a little bit of romance, but not that much, because they thought she was a boy, but she's not. They thought that she liked someone else. But yeah, but there was a surprise like scene at the maybe volume 2. But yeah, very cute scene. Other than that, really like the story. All right, guys, this is it for this manga reading log. I'm actually very proud that I read this much. I finished 2 series. That was Perfect World. Really good series in my opinion. You just learn a lot about someone who goes through a disability. It's very inspirational. I definitely highly recommend it. Then we had The Night's Blooms Behind Castle Walls, all about a young girl who wants to become a knight. But aside from that, we get to learn a lot about just doing her chores, the daily life and routine. I think it's because back in the days, there's no electronics. It gives you kind of wonder and curious what people do on this time. But yeah, really like this series. I might actually let go of this series, because I think having 3 volumes and reading it once was really good enough. Okay, the bottom one is generic romance. I think this is just a big mystery, because there's just something about Kowloon that's very suspicious, especially the people as well, because we don't know if it's real or not. No spoiler. All right, next one is My Senpai is Annoying. I really thought this was the last volume. Cute romance, and our main character finally confessed. And then next one is called The Guy She Was Interested In Wasn't a Guy at All. A Yuri manga, really cute, all about music as well as romance. Now last one's Anameta. I I really want to know if this series was canceled or not. Let me know. I really enjoy it. It's all about like being an animator. You know, a lot of manga out there talks about being mangaka, but this one, it's all about animator. Really cute. I really like it so far. But other than that, really enjoy all this series and can't wait to read more. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys read any of these? And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.